Okay, in this video we will talk about the display property in CSS. So here is the documentation which we have currently right now. So as you can see, according to MDN, the display CSS property sets whether an element is treated as a block or inline box, and the layout used for its children, such as flow layout, grid, and flex. So this later part, like the layout of the children, we will learn in great detail in the upcoming videos. But in this video, what we will focus into this first part, like how this display property can change a block element to an inline element and vice versa. Okay, so let's get started. So I will go to the code editor. I have written some comments which I will get back to, but before that, what I'll do, I will get rid of these boxes. Okay, I will create a div, and here what I can do, I can create a paragraph. Okay, and lorem if some text. Okay, and here it is, and what I'll do, I'll copy paste that bunch of times. Okay, now if I go to the browser, here is our text. Okay, so I have made some changes here as well. So what I will do, I will just get rid of these styles. Okay, now everything should be good. So now here is our paragraph. Okay, now what I'll do, I will add a span inside of that, or an anchor element inside of that. Okay, so for example, just here an anchor element, href can be https / google.com. Okay, and I can say like go to Google. All right, now here is our link. As you can see, where does it go? Okay, here it is. So here is our link. Okay, I will open the dip tools as well, and looks like I can just make it a little bit on the okay, just I'll just cut and paste it down here. Okay, now yeah, either way it is coming to the end. Okay, now it is good, so it is in the middle. Okay, so and we are missing a space. So now what you might have seen, okay, so if I just go here and create an h1, and this is a heading. Okay, now if I add the margin to the h1 tag, h1, and then I add a margin, let's add a border like 5 pixel solid salmon. Okay, and add a height of 100 pixel, add a width of something like 400 pixel, something like that, right? Add a padding of something like 10 pixel, add a margin of 10 pixel. Okay, and you might be wondering, okay, we are just setting the height and the width, the padding and the margin. By the way, I am using here box sizing to border box. Okay, so this particular CSS is there, so that is why the box sizing will be border box. Okay, so now if I just save and go to the browser, as you can see, it is expected as expected, right? And if I just inspect that, and yeah, the height and the width have changed accordingly to the border box. Okay, so nothing fancy, and the margin is pushing the content, the padding is pushing the content, and the border is also doing its job. Okay, now if I go here, this is our link, right? This is our link which we have. Okay, and by default h1 is a block level element and the anchor tag is an inline element. Okay, so now what I'll do just select the anchor element and I will just copy paste this CSS as it is to show the difference. And here what I'll do blue violet. Okay, now if I go to the browser, something interesting happened. The margin on the left and the right is working. If I just go here, yep, if I just zoom in, so as you can see, the margin on the left and the right, basically in the horizontal direction, is working, but the height is not being set properly, the width is not being set properly, and padding is working once again in the horizontal and the vertical direction. As you can see, that is why the border has some padding, but it is not doing anything, it is not pushing the content, right? Why is that? There are two different like behaviors we are encountering for two different elements. Okay, so I want to select this one. So as you can see as well, according to this basically this wireframe or this diagram, the margin is applying only in the horizontal direction, not in the vertical direction. Why is that? Because the anchor element is an inline element, and here is our comment. Okay, so I'll just cut that and paste it down here so that we can all read it together. Okay, for the inline element, the element is in the same line, which we have seen. If I go here, as you can see, it is this particular anchor tag, basically anchor element. It is in the same line as the paragraph. Okay, the height and the width does not work for the inline elements, which we have seen. Basically, this is the proper height and the width which we have set, but here the height and the width are ineffective. Okay, then the vertical margin and the padding does not make difference to other elements. Basically, the margin and the padding is not pushing other elements. Okay, so yes, it is pushing this particular text basically here and here in the horizontal direction, but in the vertical direction there is nothing. Okay, no effect. All right, so what is the solution? Now here comes the part with the display property. Okay, so this is the display property in CSS. So the display property can change how an element behave. Okay, so by default, like, the headings are block level elements and the anchor tags are the inline elements, but we can change that. So we have display to block, we have display to inline block, we have display to none, which we will cover. But here, as you can see, we can set the display to inline as well. So let's do that, or we can set the display to block as well. So if I just go here inside of this anchor tag, basically here in the CSS, and just do display of block, then what will happen? As you can see right now, our margin, padding, height, and the width, everything is working. Basically, the inline anchor tag has transformed to a block level element. How cool is that? So in that way, we can change how an element behaves. So we can do the opposite thing to the h1 as well. So I can do display to inline. Once I do that, what will happen? The margin in the vertical direction will not work and height and the width will not work. So in that way, this is the inline heading. Okay, and I can prove it to you as well, because if I just add another span after that and say hello, this span and this h1 should be inline, which it is. But if I just comment out this inline thing, the display inline property, now they are in the separate line because h1 by default is a block level element. So the block level elements have the effect of the height and the width and the margin and the padding. Everything works properly. But for the inline elements, some of the things like as I have point out here, like the height and the width do not work, and the margin and the padding do not move other elements. Okay, so here it is. So here are the basic differences of the display inline and display block. Now we will learn one other thing which is called inline block. Okay, what is that? This is basically, you might have some idea about that. Basically, this is the merger of the inline and the block. So for example, you want the margin, padding, height and the width to work, but you want to have an inline element, because currently right now our span is a block level element. So how we can do that? We can do that by using inline block. Okay, hit save. Now our height with margin padding will work, as well as the element is in the same line. So if this is the use case, in that case you can use the display of inline block. So I hope you have understood the problem and what problem the display property resolves. Okay, so we can have a practical example as well. For example, let's go under this div and create another div. Okay, and inside of that we will create another div. Inside of that we will have a p of lorem. Okay, save. And then we will have another div. I will just copy paste that. Okay, hit save. And have I added something to the div? I did not. So here is our the text. Okay, so here are our two paragraphs, I believe. So now what I want, okay, what I'll do, I'll just comment out these things. Okay, I'll just comment out these things so that it is easier for us to understand. Okay, and for the divs, I'll just comment out the anchor, comment out the heading as well. Okay, now for the div, what I can do, div is a block level element basically. What I can do something like height of 400 pixel, width of 600 pixel, and let's do a border of something like 5 pixels solid blue violet. Okay, and do a padding of 10 pixel. Okay, let's see how that looks. So here are our divs, and also there is another div, I believe. Okay, so this is the div. Okay, so I'll get rid of this outer div, so we will have only two divs. Okay, so div within a paragraph, and once again another div within a paragraph, so that everything is good. Okay, all right, now everything looks good. And let's add a margin as well, of margin of 10 pixel. Margin of 10 pixel. Okay, now here are our divs and the paragraphs. Now what I want this particular box, the later one which is below the another one, I want them side by side. So how I can do that? I can do that by setting up the property of the display to inline block. So, and also I can just add a width of 400 and height of, let's say, 300. Let's see how that looks. Okay, this looks good. Now what I can do the display of inline block. Okay, and now our paragraphs, basically our boxes, are side by side. Okay, so in that way we can do something similar with this display of inline block, but there is a better way. And spoiler alert, the better way is using the flex boxes or the grid. Okay, but we can use the display inline block to achieve the same thing as well. Okay, so here it is. So this is the display of inline block. So I hope you have understood like the what is the differences between the block level element and the inline element, and how we can use the display property of block inline and inline block to our advantage. Okay, so yeah, this is it for this video. Please like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Okay, all right.